Welcome, sir, to our little bijou cardboard coffin company. Welcome. Hello. I was just browsing because I've had a look at the catalogue online. I thought I'd, come, pick up a few tips or so. Here, in the flesh as it be. Yes. Is it for you or somebody else? Well, if it's not for me, my cessation and death is a long way off, hopefully. Friend, foe, or I don't know, relative? Friend. Dear or distant? Distant. Hence why, the cost. You're so mean, you see, so tight. Yes, I see what you mean. I mean, I'm not mean, if you see what I mean. Yes, I see what you mean, but anyway, let's continue. So, what have you looked at? Something? Well, I looked throughout the entire range, and I was thinking, perhaps I don't know. I looked at a Russian roast red or something on a Spitfire send-off, and a bamboo burnout, or the Wicker Man. So many different types of cardboard boxes, really. Yes. I mean, I nearly went for the old cardboard crucible thing, and something called a minky blue, but I think I'm going to go for the Manila one. The cheapest in the range. Yes. Well, that's him, you see. That's what he wanted. He said do it as cheap as possible, so that's what I mean. I'm going to go for the Manila Matchbox without the rope handles. I see. The 199. No, I don't think it's 199. There's one. It's on offer, special offer at 166 price fix or something. Online. Yes, they are. Do you want it delivering to the death director or DIY, or are you doing a DIY the thing yourself? Well, which is the cheapest option? Well, if you do it yourself, it's the cheapest. And probably more environmentally friendly, you see. Is it? Oh, yeah. Right. So it's not the 199, it's on 16. Oh, it's there, yeah, the 166, yeah, the Tinderbox, yeah. I see. Well, you've read the things down here, the Funeral Furnishings Manufacturers Association. I mean, it's not 100% guaranteed. Whereas if you just step up slightly to the cardboard crucible, that is. Well, if I'm doing it myself, it doesn't really matter, does it? Well, no, not really. I mean, just don't get it damp or anything. Don't leave it on the floors and then do any cleaning, because the last thing you need is a corpse to fall out of the bottom, like some sort of, well, you don't mean a bag of shopping or something. Like the sort of paper carrier bag stuff when it gets damp. Right, yes. So, is this all allowed? Oh yeah, they're guaranteed up to 23 stones if you keep them dry. They really are tough. I mean, shoes are made of these things now, and it's extremely green. Right, well that's what he wanted, and but are you allowed to do a DIY death at home and things? Oh God, yeah. I mean, once they've been signed off and the body released, it's really, truly your responsibility. Hence why now, people are doing a DIY death send-off and things. I mean, let's face it, royalty recently embalmed and, shall we say, drained the vein and took all the blood out in the organs and, well, that's what they do, I mean, Walt Disney's still frozen in nitrogen and Lenin's still floating on God knows what. I mean, they're drinking what he's bathing in, but there's a lot of people. Well, they've got their friends and family in the freezer, for waiting for the old Snow White Snog. Snow White Snog? Yes, the Frog Prince comes on, kisses them back to life, the immortal kiss and all that. Oh, I see. Right. But anyway, half the cadavers now floating in, all sorts of preservatives and. Yeah, but you've got to be careful with that because. As they say, it's very, very, very flammable. You can't just marinate your cadaver and then set light to them. They go off like a Catherine wheel. I mean, others just freeze dry them like they're pets, and you end up with I don't know, they come back like a coffee, frozen coffee. Well, freeze dried coffee, and then they feed them to the fish or use them as fertilizer. A lot of people plough them into the garden, keep the peas and the beans growing and stuff. Really? Yeah. Others just set fire to them. They have a pyre, and they make a special some dance to. All sorts of things take place, and people. I mean, I wouldn't advise what the Indians do. Throwing their wives on there after them and things like that. But diving into the Ganges or onto the coffin. But they do have these, shall we say, petrol and paraffin parties at home, and set fire to a pyre, and away they go. Isn't that dangerous, don't you think? It can be extremely dangerous, yeah. I mean, once the old corpses start to cook, don't forget, they give off a delicious smell to the pets all around. I mean, recently, they were beating dingoes, cats and dogs and God knows what off somewhere in Australia. It attracted all the foxes and wolves and God knows what from all around. They virtually had to give rabies injections to most of the funeral personage. And also they were... God, they shot God knows how many of them. They couldn't stop. I mean, once the feeding frenzy had started at the funeral with the the dogs and stuff, the Baskervillian hounds went berserk. The police had to come along, shoot God knows how many of them. They just started ripping into everyone. It's a bit like sharks with blood. Once they get the scent of gorgeous meat roasting, away they go. And that's basically all it is once it starts burning. Yes, I can see where you're coming from, but I was thinking of doing a DIY death, but I don't know. I don't want to go very, very, very wrong. Well, some do the old Buddhist, leave just the crows and everything to peck at them. I mean, you could do that, I suppose. But then that went wrong. I mean, last time I was reading, we organised one of those for someone, and half the crows and rooks and God knows what came down from the rookeries, and birds from everywhere. It looked like a scene out of the Birds Hitchcock film. They ended up with hundreds of the damn things. His wife had to well, anyway, they got it under control, but it didn't end there because her husband, in summer, months later, went out to just do a bit of sunbathing, and then he was attacked again by all these rooks and crows that thought they were putting a body out for them to peck at again. And he lost an eye and a testicle, by all accounts. Oh, Jesus. Well, you always go for the soft flesh first, Yeah. Yes. Oh. So, I mean, is it fairly easy to do a self DIY cremation or not? Well, it is, so long as that we've got you can take one of the manuals there with you, and it shows you just what to do. You can also download, but all you've got to remember is to have an even burn and not just end up with part of the cadaver crispy and crackly, because even if it's not cooked, animals will attack it. So you've got to really, really sort of evenly burn. And that's one of the main things. Also, you do have to have a extension on the barbecue and stuff. Make a kiln sort of thing out of bricks, but it'll explain in the thing there. You can't just half do it. You can't do half at once and half. It's got to all burn evenly. And then, of course, if you've got somebody that is massively overweight, carrying a lot of fat, I don't mean that awful, but it does burn very, very robustly, shall we say. I mean, one guy ended up, it was burning so fiercely for so long. I mean, his relation was grandfather was in a very, very, shall we say, large chap, and it just kept burning, and it almost it crystallized into a glass, as a lot of things do in an incinerator. And anyway, he ended up having to break up the kiln and his grandfather with a sledgehammer, which was not good in front of the grandchildren at all. So you've got to be careful with how things go. I mean, if you've got an alcoholic who's saturated in booze for a good long period, then they also go up like a firecracker. So you've got to be careful. The other thing is that, a lot of people do keep their cadavers in freezes and stuff until the day, which obviously is a good thing, because if it's a warm climate, I mean, the Australians and stuff, Indians have problems. So, but you've got to be careful that everything, because a lot of, we call it a marmalade melt. What's that? Well, it's where unfortunately somebody forgets all about it and goes on holiday in Marbella and stuff, and comes back to find out that the freezer's tripped out, and you've got, shall we say, a ghastly old melted corpse in the bottom. So you've got to be careful that you remember where your relative or friend or whatever person is. To come back from Marbella and find the house is absolutely infested with flies. I mean, I once did it with some dog food, plastic dog, the stuff that comes in tubes. Yes. And, I came back and there was, 10 million blue bottles in the conservatory that, I'm still killing them now. Right. So you just got to be careful that things are kept as they should and preserved until the day. Right. And then there's other types of burials I've been reading about. Oh, there's all sorts, yeah. I mean, there's the water burials. People are floating them out to sea and all sorts now. They call them death ships. But the trouble with that is, they're washing back up. It's a bit like the Ganges. It's they're washing back up, washing up downstream and down the coast there, and covered in crabs, and people are not happy with it. Well, you can imagine, can't you? If you come out of your caravan first thing and there's a couple of corpses washed up on the shoreline there, or you beach combing and finding that. Then there's the towers of silence, where they're washed in all sorts of urine to cleanse the corpse. And they're also given a Viking burial too, where they set fire to them and float them out here, then everywhere across the lakes. Very popular. But what's been happening there is Newton's law, gravitational pull, they usually pulled into the marinas and stuff and set fire to a few yachts and things and boats there. It's costs a fortune. You just got to be careful. I mean, the freeze-dried job and feeding them to fish is a bit better than that. Others have smoked. They smoked. I mean, there's a popular thing now, and there's the firework funerals. What's that? Well, it's where they use cannon or canonet. They keep stoking them with dried bodies and blast them off. And yeah, I mean, rockets they call it. I don't know, some guy called Rob Howe was sent up in a rocket or something and blasted over the ocean. Very popular, and yeah. I mean, one guy, parts of him was smuggled into the space station, which is very unhygienic. But you just gotta, be careful, because I mean, there's all sorts of bizarre finishes, shall we say. I mean, one guy was encapsulated in chocolate, red wine and chocolate. He was sort of caramelized in a coffin. Oh dear. Yes, still there now, but that's another thing. You see, you can't have it melting, and also you've got to be careful that the animals or rodents don't start chewing at that. We've had everything. People are now stipulating they want an Elizabeth Taylor death. What's that? Well, it's where you're in the most spangly ball gowns and absolutely dressed to the nines, like a movie star, and you arrive late. You have the cortege, the funeral cortege to go round the town. It takes a long way round, and you're an hour late. But the problem with that is, I mean, we've turned up where people have gone home, and they don't realise that it's just this. Well, arriving late for your own funeral. They think it's amusing, but usually everybody gets up and leaves. So anyway, back to what we were saying. You don't want the Spitfire send off or anything like that. Oh no, nothing garish at all. No, I mean, you don't want the Duke of Wellington, that's for sure. What's the Duke of Wellington? Well, he was putting he's putting a 12-ton bronze casket with 12 horses pulling him to his rest. No, God, nothing garish at all. No, cheap as pass. That's what he wanted. Well, they did say his was a monstrous mass of bronze, a tawdy-gaudy looking street cart that a hawker would pull. So yeah, Jesus, no, nothing ostentatious, garish. It's just the simplest. Right. So, yeah, well, I suppose, yeah, you picked the right one for the job. The 166 price fix Manila matchbox. Definitely. So I suppose you had a lot of things go wrong then. Oh God, yeah, we've got, I mean, it's nothing worse than turning up and then you've misplaced the body or the coffin. I mean, there's all sorts of things gone dreadfully wrong. I mean, the bearers, you turn up and you've got three bearers. I mean, how can you carry a coffin with three bearers? Then you have to somebody stand in, and it's anything. Well, recently, I mean, we've got a lot of gangs here, there, and everywhere, and the outskirts of London now, and I mean, recently one turned into literally a shotgun funeral, like a shotgun wedding. There was guns going off, and the corpse was stabbed. I mean, it's dead anyway. Fortunately, it was dead, and everyone was arrested and carted off. They tear gassed the entire church. I mean, the vicar's still, his eyes are still red as, Count Dracula now. He got gassed. No. Oh yes, everybody they had to fire tear gas in there to stop everyone, and rubber bullets and stuff. Oh dear God, I know. And then of course you've got, a lot of boxes people don't realise they carry in these, and they've left them in damp situations, and they end up on the floor. We had a guy drop on the floor the other day as we're carrying the coffin down. So you've got to be very careful you don't leave these in damp situations. You've got to keep them very dry and things. Right. Then we ended up, a few weeks ago, they were still digging the grave, and they were drunk. The people, even the sexton of the church was out of his mind on drink. Really? Oh God, yeah. We've had runaway caskets. We were at the St. Peter's on the hill there, Breedon on the hill. We ended up losing control of one of them. We pulled it out of the hearse and put it onto the trestles and stuff because it's so heavy. I mean, the guy weighed 40 stones. And we were just about to have 8 bearers, and it rolled down the street at such a speed. I mean, knocked 3 old pensioners down, and caused serious injuries to two of them. And they're still sorting the insurance out on that. Oh God! And then obviously we've had the Lazarus syndrome. That being, where the body climbs out of the coffin. No. Oh yes. I mean, it's happened many times before where people, they're signed off as dead. They've got the certificate and everything, and then they wake up at the wake. Oh Jesus! I know. It's fortunately the wakes before they haven't burnt the body, and so God, how many bodies do you think have been burnt while they've been still alive? Well, they're not still alive. They're totally comatose. They're not even got a heartbeat, but somehow they've sprung back to. Hence why they call it the Lazarus syndrome. Ooh, this sounds a bit risky. Very, very much so. Then there's the swaps, body swaps. Swaps? Well, what do you mean, snatching, body snatchers? Well, similar. It's just that, some people, shall we say, we've had body swaps where people are put in the wrong coffin and given the send-off. I mean, we had one where Richard, was seemingly going to be. He was laid to rest there for all to file past, and it was a woman, it was a man. It should have been a man, and it was a woman, and obviously it was somebody called Margot that was laid in the coffin. Oh God, yes. Then there's the embalming. People want embalming, and you've got to be careful if you haven't got anybody that knows what the hell they're doing. Similar to what they do at Sandringham, down in the cellars and down in Windsor with the royalty. Unless you haven't got a specialist, all they do is pour gallons of this stuff on, and it's so strong that people with asthma, they've passed out. I mean, we've had people fall straight onto into the grave, into the coffin, straight onto the coffin. Such a fiasco. Yeah. And then it's just traumatizing for people. You've got to be very, very careful. If you've got amateurs doing the job, which sometimes we have. I mean, one got lost in the hearse. He I don't know, he put the wrong sat nav in or something. I mean, and well, he was gone. I mean, and then instead of reporting when he came back, he went and parked the hearse at home. He didn't he phone? He hadn't got the mobile. I went on a tour to Scarborough and then I got lost. So he said. He smelt of alcohol. This is the trouble with amateurs, you know. I mean, can you imagine we've got a church full of people and he's gone to Scarborough? The corpse in the back. Oh dear, dear, dear. Yes. We've had exotic dancers. Strippers. Strippers. Porn baron. Somebody, quite well known. I don't know. I don't look at the top rack girly stuff, but by all accounts he owns Razzle and God knows what. He organised some strippers and they were dancing around with tassels on the old twin torpedoes there, and awful. But we've had a lot of police called recently where people have been handcuffed and marched out of the church in chains virtually. Oh God. Then we get them where, because people want it doing so cheaply, not at our funeral directorship, but we only sell coffins, obviously, that's why you're here. But a lot of these directorships now all come together as a cooperative type of situation, and it's a lot cheaper to keep the gas going, obviously, and to have as many burnt as possible at once, so that they just you don't have to keep them burning, because an incinerator, you see, you have to keep going. So once you turn it on. So what are you telling me, that they do it on a? Yeah, they do it, and then your ashes are shipped back. You see, so they burn them. You think what you're getting is. You're telling me that you're not telling me that the ash is just dumped outside on a conveyor belt and they dig it out. Well, similar. It's not so much done here in the UK, but it is done elsewhere where, they don't want to. Well, they can't afford to use that much gas. I mean, they're burning for 2 and 3 hours, don't forget. And I can't keep turning them on and off. And of course you can't leave them running. And everything's got to be fired up, and it's like a steel furnace. Once you get it going, it must be used. So what they do is just ship the bodies from here, there and everywhere and do them all at once. Oh my God! I know. Probably better doing a DIY. But yeah, it's and then there's the other point in a lot of shall we say, challenging situations where they have to do it on such extreme cheap budgets that they do this too, and they also use the same casket. So when it's a conveyor belt, you think your body comes in, obviously, and it's the same expensive casket being used, but then they quickly take the body out and burn it in a bag or sort of do or a box, and the casket swap, and then sometimes the bodies get mixed up and it all goes wrong. So really, you better either you're going to have to do it yourself, as you say, a DIY death burn, or get a really good crematorium, which costs a lot of money, and nobody wants to do that. You see. Then there's a rush job where the autopsies and stuff and body parts come instead of the body. There's recently a woman, unfortunately, bought an expensive casket, and when it was opened and all the silk line, there was just a couple of legs in there. The rest of it had all been stolen. Well, not so much stolen, but used, as it were. Organs are very, very valuable now, and they usually stitch them up and put the hearts back in and the livers and. Not back in, sorry. They usually steal the livers and the organs and and sell them off. So you're telling me that the hospitals are like a scrapyard for body parts then? Well, not our hospitals. Well, I don't think so anyway. But the morgues and the hospitals and the funeral directs elsewhere abroad in very poverty-stricken third world countries, they waste not, want not. It's make do and mend type of thing, and it's. it becomes almost a sort of boneyard and spares department, the breakage yard. A good heart over there and a good this and that is worth an absolute fortune. Eyes and everything, they're frozen and used again. I mean, you can see where it comes from. I mean, starving family members and, £1,000 is a lot of money. $1,000 and things in these countries I'd pay for the starving. Then there's other things that, people now are making them into plates and gemstones and everything's used. Hair, teeth and God knows what. No. God, it sounds perverted. Well, not so much perverted. I mean, let's face it. I mean, one woman's recently had her poodles made into diamonds somehow. I don't know how that works, but yeah, she had a poodle made into diamonds and stuff. And her husband, she just emptied out of the train window on the way back from the crematorium. She shows you where his standing was, doesn't it? Another woman, well, she's had her husband made into a paperweight. She shakes and his ash falls like snow onto the... She had these little mini cars. He had a car collection that he was so in love with that she's had all the cars, parts of the cars, made into little models, into a huge paperweight, and she watches the snow fall on the cars. She just laughs when it happens. I mean, this is the things that do take place. Oh, good God, it sounds like Auschwitz. It's a wonder they're not making him into lampshades. Well, I don't think this goes as far as that. But it sounds like all this mix up and swapping, and it's obviously Hare and Burke are still in business in most of these third world places. Well, yeah. I mean, a young cadaver is still worth the pound of flesh, and Shylock is still at large, really. Oh dear God, the body snatchers. So I suppose that, well, they have to put them in cages now, in a lot of them, Mali and places like that, people... There's even cannibalism in some places down in Papua New Guinea. I mean, it's a delicacy down there. There's still... No. Yeah, I mean, they've done away with it, seemingly, but they've still got, a lot of the laughing disease that's brought on by cannibalism still out in the furthest reaches and the mountain regions. They still have a feast, shall we say, for the family, or of the family. They dig them up and cook them. Oh, God. Yes, hungy or something they call them. They burn them in the ground. Oh, my God. That's what I think. But don't forget, I mean, they can make $3,000 from some of this. So you can understand if you're starving to death, and, I suppose I should sell my friend and sell him for a few dollars and have myself a hog roast out of the old thing. Really? I'm only joking. Look, I'll go. I don't know, it's upset my stomach here. I'm not going for lunch or anything for quite some time listening to you. I'll just go for the Manila Matchbox if you don't mind. The 166 price fix if you... Good choice. And, well, we'll post it to you anyway. You post it to me. Does it come? Well, yeah, they come, like a flat pack, it's you put them together. It's like furniture. Oh God, I don't know whether I can be bothered with all this. I'm not very good at that. Well, you said you wanted to do a DIY. It's a flat pack funeral, we call them. Oh, so I have to build a coffin. But it hardly takes any building. It's a few screws here and there, and a framework inside, strongish framework. It's all very green and da-de-da. I mean, let's face it, if you've got a huge big casket, it's 3 trees that are going up in flames. I mean, you are doing the right thing. Right. A flat pack funeral. I didn't realise it was so... Well, look, we'll give you the manual. It comes with a manual and comes with a... you can buy the accelerant here. You don't need much of it, I mean, don't go raiding your shed for terps and stuff. That's how you end up with yourself on fire and immolation of your, some of the, funeral guests and things, is because people throw that much accelerant on there, or they're going to put the wrong one on. I mean, yeah. But It comes in a package. You get the accelerant, you get the da-di-da, and it's just a flat pack funeral. 166, your price fix. You can't go wrong. Can't you? That sounds like even the pros go wrong. It's not for the faint-hearted. Look, if you don't fancy it, then, I suggest you get a nearby funeral directors to do it. I think it might be better. You put me right off. In fact, you put me off din-dins and everything else. Good day, sir. Oh, good day, sir.